How's everyone doing? Almost ready for lunch?
We're the last thing standing in your way now.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, my name is Daniel Vidal. For those of you who I haven't met, I'm the Chief Strategy Officer here at Expensify.
And I'm the Partner Manager here at Expensify, Milja, Kljajic.
So we want to talk about the Expensify support best practices. Our support system has evolved a lot and very, very rapidly over the last year or 2 years especially. And we're very proud of where our support is actually at. But because it moves so quickly, we also think that a lot of firms are not actually using our support. They might have been burned by concierge in the past. And so we want to really dial into those best practices of how you should be using it with your teams today. And so Milja is going to go in detail about that. But we thought maybe before talking about just the best practices, we should just also give you a history lesson of how Expensify support has evolved over the years, and then give you some insights into where we actually want to go and why we're doing the things that we are. So taking it back to 2008, we just launched our product. We had a fantastic product that was gaining traction for sure. Our support system was incredibly manual. Some of you in this room were definitely there. Laura, you probably remember you'd email help@expensify.com. That email would go to someone like Milja or myself, and then we replied like, hey, I'm Daniel, I'm here to help you out. And then the next time you'd email it'd go to someone else. And that worked pretty well for a while. We were just trying to figure out how to become a real business, how to support clients, what are our clients trying to do. But then we started getting really successful, and our business continued to grow. In 2015, we had our first iteration of account managers, where direct clients would actually be given an internal employee. We started our Expensify Approved program. Shortly after that, we had our first ExpensiCon, where we actually got to know everybody on a personal level, so our first iteration of partner managers. And our business was rolling. We were growing super, super fast. But when you're growing super fast, we were gaining millions of users. And with millions of users come millions of more questions. And expense management is I think, unique business software in the sense that most other softwares are mostly dealing with just admins or accountants or people that know what they're talking about. Whereas 99% of the questions that we get are from employees who don't give a shit about the accounting. They're just writing in, they're just saying, hey, can you help me do this? And so we had to figure out a system that would scale to millions of users, and as David alluded to, hopefully one day billions of users. And so that's where we entered Concierge. And Concierge came because we had to make a very difficult decision. That decision was hire 500, 1,000 more sales or support people, or figure out another way to solve this problem. And so you obviously know we went the other way. And we did that because if we would have went the way of 500 more employees, we would never be able to do things like ExpensiCon, like all of the other incredible things that this company does actually do. And so we wanted to solve it with technology, with automation, which is a much better solution to become the company that we do. Now, we know Concierge was a little bumpy for a while. We know that many of you have actually voiced that. Don't want to talk to a robot. But Concierge, for what it's supposed to do, is an incredible tool. And that's, again, to answer the 99% of questions that come from employees. Not the 1% that are sitting in this room, I would say. We know that had some work to be desired. And I think that's where we're at, though, today. And we spent the better part of, I'd say, 2 years to go to the next transition of Expensify support. And I think that's to become best-in-class support, where we're the best supporting tool of anyone that you actually work with. And we've made massive improvements. We've added guides that are actually there on a global scale. They can actually onboard your clients. They'll do a white glove demo for you. We've added account managers. So now every single one of your clients has access to an account manager that's going to field any questions that you have. They're going to be in the admin's room. And on top of that, we gave you all partner managers. And these are very, very long tenured employees like Milja, like some of the partner managers you already know. And this is just an incredible asset that helps your firm strategically grow on our platform. And you have direct access to them as well. On top of that, as David talked about, we've built an entire tool around collaboration. And that's where we want to give you direct access and touch points to all of these different assets at any given time. Just like we talk internally as a team, you can talk to us in new Expensify. And there's also some other cool things that Milja's going to talk about that we're launching right now in the process of and later this year. But I think why we're doing all this, and I think we still have a little bit of ways to go, is we want to actually have our support become so good that it's actually a feature for why you're offering Expensify to your clients. It's a tool that you're saying, you should use this collaboration tool with our firm because Expensify is there to help support you all the way, but it's a tool that I, as an accountant, as an advisor, is going to give you real-time access with a part of this tool. But before going too much into the future, let's bring it back to today. So Milja is going to talk through how you should actually be using all these different tools.
Thank you, Daniel. Yes, I mean, like he's saying, the idea of what we're doing here is sort of revamping our support structure to make sure that you've always got access to the person who's going to have the right context for whatever it is you need to do, and you're going to have the fastest and most accurate responses possible. So all of you who are on the accounting channel here in this room today, you should have already been introduced to your partner manager. This is going to be your sort of escalation point for anything, any concerns that come up, sort of any major issues that you want to talk about. Similarly, it's going to be the person that you can speak to about strategic goals for your firm, growth goals, and when it comes to sort of making sure that your use of Expensify is fully optimized, that your policies are correctly organized, that you're really getting the most out of Expensify as a product, will be the right person for you to speak to. But like Daniel says, our intention is to also make sure that your clients have fantastic support, which is going to make it essentially a no-brainer for you to recommend Expensify to them, and it's going to make it essentially zero time cost for you to have more clients on Expensify, because we're handling both the onboarding with our team of guides, and these are setup specialists. Each new customer that works with us is going to have an individual guide assigned to them who's going to manage that entire onboarding relationship all the way until we consider them fully set up. So whether that's demos, as many implementations as they need, depending on the complexity of their setup, answering their questions. We just want to make sure that they've got that person who knows exactly what they need. They're getting them set up in the way that they need to go. And it sort of makes it very easy on the accounting side. So once a customer is fully rolled out, in order to make sure that, again, you're continuing that single point of contact and there's somebody who's going to have the context about how they're using Expensify and what they need, we've introduced account managers. So typically across Expensify, a customer will need to meet a certain spend threshold in order for us to assign an account manager to them. Obviously, these are like highly skilled people. But for our approved community, so everybody in this room, we're going to make sure that every single one of your clients has an account manager, regardless of their size, regardless of their spend. And the way that you can take advantage of that perk is by getting certified as approved and making sure that you recertify every year and keep that certification going, because, that's a great perk. And again, it all comes back to us wanting to make sure that it doesn't take you any time to manage clients who are using Expensify.
Yeah, I think this actually is getting launched maybe even this morning, that all of the clients will start having these automatically assigned through the tool.
And I think one of the main reasons why we're sort of focusing so much on the support side is, again, we want to make sure that we're really proactive in the way that we're looking after your customers. And ideally, we don't want to be catching problems or hearing about problems when they're already causing issues. We want to be getting a step ahead with things like quarterly reviews, making sure that if there's any potential issue coming up, we know about it before it starts to break anything, before it starts to be a problem. And that way we can make sure that their use of Expensify is as smooth as possible. So, there's no use in sort of rolling out these team of people if they're not easy to access, easy to contact, easy to find. And with that in mind, if you go into Expensify, you'll now see a support section underneath on the left-hand nav. This little window that you're looking at here, this is going to update depending on what stage your client is at in their journey. If you're still setting up, you'll see your guide here waiting for you. You can access them directly by clicking on that icon. And if they're fully rolled out, then it will be their account manager. And if you guys take a look at some point today, you'll see your partner manager there waiting for you. And again, taking it back to that idea of proactive support, so we really want to make sure that we're really taking a deep look at how clients are getting set up on Expensify, how they're using Expensify. And we've created these playbooks to kind of be essentially like a hymn sheet for us to be reading from on the setup side and on the account manager side. We've spent a lot of time thinking about the optimum way to use Expensify and the way that you're getting the most out of all of the features, the best possible setups and uses. And we've created these playbooks basically to give people a really clear set of guidance and to give our account managers and guides a really clear set of guidance to make sure that everybody's set up and getting looked after in a way that's going to get them the most use out of the product.
Yeah, and these are actually brand new. We worked with our steering committee to come up and vet what we actually wrote down for the first couple size businesses. But we're going to be sending these out to you, having you review them. And so in the spirit of collaboration that we do ask for, we're going to say, hey, is there a better way to actually write this? Is there a better way to set up these clients? Because we want to incorporate that into the playbooks and continue to iterate and improve. We recognize this is a V1, and so these are only going to get better, and we're going to continue to expand to the right size number of businesses.
And then finally, you're familiar with Concierge already. The account managers, the guides, these are sort of exciting new elements of the support structure, but just like any normal human beings, they're going to have a start and an end date to their day. I'm European, we love our holidays. They're going to take time off from time to time. And with that in mind, we want to make sure that you're still getting access to that 24/7 support, to high quality responses, to fast responses. And with that in mind, even though we're rolling out these different individuals who'll be working with you and your clients, we're still going to continue to always invest in the speed and the accuracy of the concierge responses.
Yeah, one way we're actually investing right now is we're still trying to figure out how to develop ChatGPT into concierge, and so it can make it even faster, have more insights, have more conversational tone that doesn't always rely on having to go to a human. So definitely staying up to date on the latest technologies as well.
Absolutely. So again, we've spoken a little bit already about sort of the changes that we're making in the product to make sure that this new support structure is fully integrated into both Expensify and new Expensify, and sort of everything is easy to access and share amongst the people who work at your firm. One thing that we're particularly excited about is the domains room. And we had a great question from Dixie earlier in the session. So how can I make sure that I'm not answering the same question over and over again? And this is kind of the foundation of what we're designing with the domains room, this sort of founding principle that it's better to teach many people than to teach individually lots of different people separately. So the domains room is going to be a space where client-facing accountants at your firm will be in there with the partner manager, able to access support, able to get their questions answered. And if you can see here from a live example, there's somebody that has questions about the integration with Sage Intacct. I've basically made it available to anybody in that room. So listen, we're going to be meeting in this link. I'll talk to you about the integration. I'll give you a demo. And that way, we can share that product knowledge and making sure that more people than the person who asked the question is benefiting from it.
Yeah, and this one is it's super exciting, and it's what we're actually defaulting, where everyone on the accounting firm's domain would be in the room by default. So it's going to be a great place for announcing stuff, for firm-wide announcements. But if you talk to your partner manager and you want to set up, let's say, the NetSuite practice and have its own room, so you kind of keep some of that information there, or you want to have different locations, that's all customization that we can do per the rooms. We just start with the domain room, but if you talk to your partner manager, we can do whatever you'd like for support.
Absolutely. Still developing based on your feedback. And the admin's room, another one that's quite exciting. Again, this is a room where any admin on a policy will be invited into that room. They'll have access to either their account manager or their guide, depending on what stage in the setup they're at. And you might notice at the top there, we keep a log of any action that's being incurred on the policy. And that gives the account manager, it gives the setup specialist the opportunity to proactively identify when this new admin is interacting with the product, to make themselves available to support them, to catch anything like, perhaps an approval workflow has been set up incorrectly, and the guide or the account manager can step in and offer their services. And again, it makes it really easy to keep an eye on what's been going on the policy. If a new admin joins the company, they've got this really great log of previous conversations, of previous actions, and it just means that everything is so much easier to share. It's not siloed in an individual person's inbox.
Yeah, I was actually talking to Yvonne about this one yesterday, and she had the excitement was really cool to actually see, because part of their value add is just the support that they actually do for the clients of setting up the policies. But this allows the client to see all the work being done, because the policy audit log is going to be in there. They're going to see the actual updates to the categories and things like that. So it demonstrates the value per client in the room as they work with our partner managers or our account managers to set up the client correctly.
So a little bit now, obviously we've spoken a little bit about the things that we've introduced, but to give you a clear idea of what we're doing here and where we're aiming for. Some additional technical updates we want to make. Again, we really sort of hammered home the chat-centric vision so far, and we've discussed a lot about chat over the course of the past couple of days. But obviously, we know sometimes it's important to be able to jump on a phone call. And with that in mind, we do, again, want to make sure that you have access to in-app calling within new Expensify. And that's something that we're working on actively and we'll be rolling out shortly, which we're really excited about. sort of more broadly, what we're aiming for and what we want, Daniel already sort of touched on this, but again, we want to be the app in your tech stack that has the best support and that is offering you the most that we possibly can. We really want to make it a no-brainer to recommend us to your clients because you know it's going to be easy and they know it's going to be easy. And yeah, I mean, we want new Expensify to be something that you can use to support your clients directly. But also, we would love for you guys to be able to communicate with your clients and sort of use it for your own personal use with your clients as a tool for your communication with them. And all we need for you to help us get there is simply to use these features. Like Daniel said, they're new. There's going to be things that with the update based on your feedback, there's going to be things that we need to fix, that we need to change. And the only way we'll know that is if we work together with the people in this room who have, the potential to be power users of these features to make sure that we're building them in a way that is helpful for you. So yeah, talk to us regularly in the domains room, speak to your partner manager in there, and yeah, let your clients know that they have access to these setup specialists, to their account managers within the admin's room, and get them in there so that we can take a little bit of the burden off your plate.
And I'd say even outside of just your clients, make sure that all of your accounting team members know that they have access to the partner manager. We've noticed that everyone here in this room, you obviously know your partner manager. You get to drink limoncello with them by the pool. But the people that are back home, they probably don't even know that they have access, one, to a partner manager yet, or two, that their clients have access to an account manager. So we need help spreading the word because they didn't have access 2 years ago. That just wasn't a possibility. But now they do. It's great. And so we just want them using it.
Absolutely. And that's all from us, guys. Thank you. Get the QR code back up.
Yeah, we still got some time for some questions. So if any of you would like to ask a question to Daniel or Milja before we break for lunch. Yep, let me grab you the microphone.
Thanks, guys. That's really cool. A question I had is, when are the two platforms going to merge together so we don't have people coming into the new and to the other one?
Absolutely. Well, we're actively working on reunification. What would you say for a timeline, Daniel?
Probably ask Jason tomorrow. He's going to do a whole product one, but I'd say 6. We're starting to bring employees over than the most basic expense reporting possible. So it might not be a lot of your clients, but individuals we're working with that don't categorize expenses because all they do is scan a receipt and they just use us as like a receipt storage. New Expensify is ready for them right now. So we're calling them waves, and we're bringing over waves of employees as we can support their functionality. But it's pretty simple to start. And so I'd say over the next 6 to 12 months, you're going to start to see us emailing you to say, hey, these customers are actually ready. But that's also one of the big reasons we wanted to roll out the account managers to every single one of the clients as well, because we want to be there in that transition. We know that it's going to be new. It might look a little foreign to them. No one's ever heard of a chat-centric expense reporting platform. And so we want to be there to field all those questions and help the transition go very smoothly.
So is the recommendation that you get people to use the new platform and the old one until they kind of...
Yeah, I think employees will probably move to New Expensify first. Managers and admins and accountants will probably live in Classic Expensify, as it's now being called, Classic Expensify for a while, because the admin functionality isn't going to move to New Dot as first. So you'll be still interacting with the reports page, the inbox, and the employees will start using that to scan receipts and categorize stuff.
Thanks.
Yep, then we got another question over here.
Thanks. Where do you see sort of the balance between transactional-based conversations and channels, so like hashtag domains, and sort of more towards that Teams feature of, lots of different groups, lots of different sub channels? Like, how do you see that being managed?
So as of right now, when an employee gets added to a workspace, which is, you probably all know it as a policy because that's what it's called for a while, but now it's going to be called a workspace, a little more flexible term. That creates a room between all of the managers or the people in the approval workflow or the admins and the employees. So when they actually submit a receipt, it goes in there. Everyone that has access to see it, they can all comment on it and work with the employee there. I do think that outside of that, once teams start to move into New Expensify, they're going to see the flexibility of the tool. They're going to see that it has all the same features of Slack or Teams or whatever they want, whatever tool they use. But then they're going to see the architecture that David was talking about. They'll be like, oh, I can use this with my clients. I can use this with other groups, my legal team, my accounting team. and they're going to start to set up just rooms that there won't be transactions in. It'll just become a chat tool as well. And that's kind of our plan, is to say, hook them with the expense management, the back office business, but become more collaborative with the tool over time.
Yeah.
Hey guys, just a quick one. When you spoke about all the admins get invited to the same room with one employee, so if I've got 50 people, will there be 50 chat rooms potentially that I'm in?
No, it's like one admin's room per policy, and like the internal employee would just be either the account manager or the setup specialist that assigned to that policy, plus your partner manager if you're, because we would be admins as well.
Okay, and my next side question is, in terms of like currently Expensify, you've got most of your employees just submitting stuff and not really engaging with me as a business owner or anything, and just submitting documents. Yeah, is there not an option to almost go, I don't want people to have lots of conversations, I just also want them to just have a place to just keep going and doing the same thing, and me not necessarily seeing everything?
Absolutely. And there's also, again, like Daniel alluded to this a little bit, there's ways that you'll be able to manage notifications. You'll be able to manage like who could post, for example. So if you want it to be used as a room where only certain people can share with the relevant announcements that they need to with the group, that all of that will be available.
Yeah, it'll also, to the employees that are coming over just looking to scan receipts, they're going to see a global create button, just hit the plus button, and they'll hit scan receipt, and that will be just all they do. They don't have to necessarily chat, and you can help them set up that way too.
Exactly. And the admin's room is for the admins who are much more likely to have these kind of questions where they want access to somebody at Expensify. For the vast majority, if they have an issue like Daniel said, they'd be more likely to ask concierge or ask their existing admin.
Also, just a reminder that right now you can set your preference to focus mode, which means that the chats will only show if there's actually specifically an unread chat, rather than have the entire left-hand navigation full of chats. So if you haven't done that already, go and check out settings, preferences, focus mode.
We have one over here.
Yeah.
I think my hand raise was too shy. So.
Yeah.
Quick question. In terms of moving from classic to new, are you going to develop communication so we can share with our clients?
Like give you a heads up before we just send a newsletter?
Yes, or items that we can share and start the education with them. I primarily serve exempt organizations, nonprofits, so everything has to be properly planned. So that would be a great tool for us.
And that's sort of my job, essentially, like as the partner manager, absolutely, to let you know when that's going to happen, to work with you, to train your client-facing team, to make available an account manager who can train the employees of your clients. I mean, exactly as Daniel said, like we understand that this is a big change, and that's why we've invested so much in the support structure to make sure that everybody has the right person who not only they can come to if they have questions, but more importantly, to be proactively letting them know way ahead of time when these things are starting to happen so we can get people prepared.
Yeah, I think it's also, we're planning to have the dual platforms for a while, and so that way they don't have to necessarily go over, but we're moving people over, they get to try it, and then they get to give us feedback. Because I think that when we have early usage, it's going to be like any other new product. You're going to probably make a couple updates and have to change things just based on how people are actually receiving it. And so we'll allow them to go back and forth if they wanted to, and then gradually over time, try to let them know, like, hey, you have 6 months before we would shut off old dot. Or
Yeah, Daniel,
With respect to new implementations, are you just moving everybody into new, no more classic at this point in time?
No, they're still setting up on classic.
yeah,
They'll be classic for a while.
I think to put a finer point on that, the transition from classic Expensify to new Expensify is going to be very much like a pull in, that we wouldn't make this transition until there's parity across the two, and there's no advantage to quote unquote shutting down or removing old Expensify until there is no plan for that, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be a very natural process where we pull people in and not push.
that makes sense.
I'd also say use your partner managers for sure. They're going to alert you, but like let's have a plan to start moving people over, and partner managers will help you develop that plan, and then we can use our guides to do recordings, to do anything that we need to as well.
Hi, Deepika. I have a few questions. So, in the conversation, will all the employees be able to see each other's submissions, like for the receipts, or is it private?
Private.
Private. Okay. And another question is, if there are multiple approvers in the company, like, how do we deal with that in the conversation? Like, who's going to, if there are two people who have to approve it? And third question is, there are companies which I've worked with who wants to be more SOX compliant, and they want emails instead of Slack already. So moving towards this conversation, I'm not sure how we are handling that. Can you talk about that, please?
Well, I mean, it's the conversation, like the communication within Nudot is essentially optional, and if people want to still continue to speak via email, they're welcome to, and they can set their notifications so that they'll get an email to something pertinent, reminding them either to follow up directly to the email or to check within Nudot. But to your point, and also like to reiterate TJ's point, you mentioned like multiple levels of approval. For example, this is a feature that we have right now in classic Expensify. We would never expect anybody to move over to a new platform that offers less functionality than the existing version of Expensify. So certainly everything that you like using about the product now is going to be in there in the same or in a better form. And yeah, there'll be no expectation for you to give up one platform and move to the other until you and your clients can see a direct benefit to doing that.
And how it's going to work with like multiple approvers is let's say an employee submits a receipt, everyone that's on the approval chain will see what's happening. So they'd see Milja actually just approved this one, and now it goes to Daniel. And David talked about that green brick road where it kind of points you to where you need to go in the platform. If action is on me, that's when the green brick road would show up. But otherwise, I could check out that chat to see what's happening. And this is a design feature that we're not sure if we're going to stick with, but it's what we think we're going to actually like. And then if we see any feedback like, hey, I don't want to see the approvals until it gets to me, we might update that going forward. But to start, you'll see like whoever's approving it in the process.
So I think we're going to take one last question. So if you haven't already, please scan the QR code so we can keep these going. And then we'll break for lunch after it.
Milja, now I'm the last person to keep people from their lunch. Tabitha Schmaltz from Dean Norton. My question specifically around the way that the chat is currently set up. So I have mine in focus mode. If it's pinned, I can see it. But when I open it up, there's a lot of chat sessions in there. And so it's kind of hard to find a client that I need to talk about. So I'm really guilty. I just put it all to concierge and say, oh, by the way, I have a problem with this other policy, and hope concierge will figure it out for me. Is there a way that something like that can be incorporated where like I put a hashtag client name and that can get moved to that conversation? Or do I have to diligently comb through all of my client questions?
Are you asking if there'll be ways to group the different chats that are related to one client in one place?
Yeah, so currently like I might have like a hashtag admin, hashtag client name or whatever that is.
Yes,
and so if I have a problem specifically on that client, I have to scroll and try to find it. And if I don't find it quickly and I have to move on, I might just ping concierge and say, I have a problem on this policy. Can you help me?
I agree. And like as a partner manager who has also many of these listed in my left-hand nav and New Expensify, we are making updates to make it easier to search, easier to group. And I'm not sure if we have something in place now to sort of like, I guess, better naming conventions so that you see that faster. But I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, as you start to have the ability to create your own rooms, it'll probably be a little easier for you just to say it wants to be this client name. Mm-hmm. And you'll have that ability very soon. We have it actually already internally. We're testing it out. But I think the feature that you are looking for, Jason will talk about it, but it's going to be powerful search. So whether you want to search for a client name, whether you want to search for a firm name or an expense from McDonald's or Home Depot or a category, like the powerful search feature that we're currently building is going to allow you to just put whatever you want in there and we'll display the right information. And it's going to be very, very powerful for the platform.
Perfect. Thank you.
Also, don't forget that as of today, you might not need to scroll because all your clients will have a dedicated account manager who can help them with their support questions. So hopefully that will reduce the scrolling. All right. Well, yeah, massive thank you to Milja and Daniel.
Thank you, guys.
We're going to break for lunch.